hi Taz. We're gonna be playing Alien Isolation today. This is my first time playing it. I don't know. Sorry, this was actually a reward, from when I did my Not a Subathon-a-thon. It was a goal that was reached that this would be the next horror game I played when we got to a certain number of subs, and well, that goal was smashed, so this is our next horror game. Yeah, so we're gonna get into this. Hi Taz, I hope you're well. Be prepared for screaming and me cursing like crazy, and yes, I will probably be playing this on a very easy mode, only because I don't do well playing games when they are too difficult. And I feel like video games are meant to be enjoyed, and you shouldn't get nasty with somebody just because they're playing it in a way that you yourself would not. Ooh boy. I don't care, I can't see, I have bad eyesight! Oh. Here we go. If volumes need to be upped or anything, please do let me know.
Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo. Third officer reporting. The other members of the crew: Kane, Lambert, Parker, Brett, Ash, and Captain Dallas are dead. Cargo and ship destroyed. I should reach the frontier in about 6 weeks. With a little luck, the network will pick me up. This is Ripley. Last survivor of the Nostromo. Signing off.
That wasn't a scary opening at all.
Ripley? I'm Samuels. I work for the company. It's about your mother. We think we may have found her, Amanda. A commercial vessel, the Anisadora, has recovered what we believe to be the flight recorder unit of the Nostromo.
Where?
Zeta Reticula.
What did it tell you?
We don't know. The unit was taken to Sevastopol station. It's proprietorial material, so the company wants it to be collected as soon as possible. Sevastopol's a supply depot in the region. It's a permanent free port facility.
I know what it is.
Transit's arranged. There's a courier ship called the Torrens heading out that way in 2 days. We're going to travel out.
We?
Me and another exec. And you, if you're willing.
I don't think she's willing.
Look, Ripley, when this job came across my desk, I read the case history. I know why you're working in the region where she went missing. You're still looking, aren't you? I've been cleared to offer you a place on the Torrens if you want to come along. Maybe there'll be some
The
closure
detail
for
on
you.
this game, damn. Good morning? Oh, yes, good morning. We're in our underwear. Yes, yes, good morning. Explore the Tolerance. Okay. Tricky bird! That's a sumo wrestler? Get dressed. Well, yeah. I would imagine I need to put some clothes on. Frank Herman, War and Totality. I would imagine I need some kind of clothing. I can't have those. Okay, fine. Well, I guess I have to leave here because there's nothing else in here. I'm not allowed to. Oh, right. Well, here. Oh, that's all that does. Just press button. Okay, well, can't do anything with that. Am I supposed to go that way? What if I don't want to? What if I want to go this way? What if I want someone to walk around naked? Can I put that on? I want to put that on. What if I feel like walking around in my undies? What if that's my choice? Like, is that the whole game because I can't walk because I wanted to walk around in my undies? Game's like, nah. Access terminal. Just missed you, Verlaine. You on the lookout for a navigational officer? I have a friend that's just lost his ship and he's looking for work. I can vouch for him. He's got good papers. Same old story. The megacorps undercut him, picked up all his clients. Contracts are getting harder to come by for the smaller companies, and I'm thinking of getting out myself while I have something to sell. Sounds like you're doing okay though. Dropped by the docks and heard you shipped out. You just shipped out. Sevastopol Station, what a shithole. Still, I hear Wayland Yutani pay well. Good luck to you. If you can't beat them, right, let's catch up when you get back. Blame. Oh, you robot! I want to take the robot. Okay, fashion magazine, I guess. Right, I'm dressed. Verlaine, Connor, Samuels, Taylor, Ripley. Everyone was signed in. Right, someone's got a dream catcher. Icon? No. Okay, that's like a side peek. Okay. Normally you can run in these games. But it's not. Can't go in there. Go in here. Yeah? Go in here. Ooh, fancy. Oh, I can go in here too. Hi.
Ah, Ripley.
Samuels, did you wake up early?
Well, I don't really need as much sleep as the rest of you. I was just inspecting the Torrens facilities. A well-maintained ship. I realize it's a very similar model to...
The Nostromo.
Yes, M-Class. A later pattern, but close in spec.
I've worked engineering jobs on ships like this.
Of course. Is Taylor up yet? She's not a seasoned traveler. Hypersleep may have been punishing for her.
Haven't seen her. I'll go check on her.
Hi. Bye, friend. that was the extent of our conversation. Hi. I'm not allowed to talk to you anymore. Beep boop, beep boop. I wanna touch everything! I wanna touch everything. Boop boop. I don't care how mad it makes somebody, I'm touching every button. That's my first instinct, touch all the buttons. If it does something, I need to know. I don't care if it's something boring or if it's not. I need to know what it does. It looks cold in here. It just looks like it would be really cold with all that white smoke. Did I just go in a big old fuck off circle? I did! I'm in a big old fuck off circle. Okay. Oh. Hi.
Taylor, good morning.
Ripley, it's certainly not good. I very much doubt it's morning either. Sorry. I feel like death. I don't know how you people put up with hypersleep regularly.
You get used to it.
I don't do long haul very often. Most legal execs don't travel further than the coffee machine.
I'm surprised Weyland-Yutani felt the need to send legal at all.
The loss of the Nostromo and its cargo cost the company a lot of money. It's important we find out what happened. If I can close the case with a conclusive accident report, it'll look great with my superiors. I'm sorry. That was insensitive. I realize your mother has been missing for 15 years, and you...
It's okay. We'll both get what we want, right?
Have you seen Samuels? He's probably been up for hours.
Yeah, we saw him. Look at all the cereal.
All personnel to the bridge. Approaching Sevastopol Station.
Oh.
Looks like we're up.
To N. Taylor. No, I wanted to read that. Go back. Read it. To N. Taylor, Nostromo Incident, Weyland-Yutani, file DS9398476. Hey Taylor, I got your case request. It may take me a while to dig out the files, and the incident happened before my time at the company, so I'm a bit fuzzy on the details. In 2122, the Weyland-Yutani cargo vessel, the USCSS Nostromo, went missing. No trace was found of its cargo or crew. Apart from the new science officer, the rest of the crew had worked together before 7 in all. Dallas, Captain, Ash, Science Officer, Kane, or is it Kane with a C? Executive Officer, Ripley, Warrant Officer, Lambert, Navigation Officer, Parker, Chief Engineer, Brett, Engineer Technician. Weyland-Yutani lost a lot of money from it. It's a bit of a black mark in history. Get the impression they don't like to mention it. Anyway, I'll try and find the files later, clarify some of the points. If you want, I can help you. If you want, I can help you go through them. Maybe some of your luck will rub off on me. I hear upstairs have an eye on you for something big. Saul. Torrens Manifest. Name, MSV-7760. Torrens, M-Class Starship. Captain, Verlaine Diane. Navigator, Comm Officer Connor William. Owner, Verlaine Diane. Contractor, Weyland-Yutani. Outbound and return transportation for Weyland-Yutani retrieval team to Sevastopol Station. Team consists of 3 Weyland-Yutani employees: Samuel C., Ripley A., Taylor N. Passenger Samuel, Christopher, Ripley, Amanda, Taylor, Nina. Number of decks 2, number of crew 2. Interstellar communications, long-haul hypersleep chamber. Commercial passenger cargo ship retrofitted from a tow rig, retains operational heavy-duty tow umbilical. Hi. Ooh, paper! Oh, it's a cookbook! Well, I've already interacted with that. Don't know what that's about. I can't get coffee even though I want coffee and I'm not allowed. Search. Ooh. Give me all the items. blueprints to help you craft items or components. Okay. Can I open this one? No. Hello, it's me.
Hope you all had a restful journey.
The Torrens is in very good order for an old M-class, Captain.
She was a wreck when I bought her. Took a few years and a lot of contracts to refit. She pays for herself now.
You said we're approaching Sevastopol Station. Are we docking?
I believe your contact is Marshal Waits, is that right? I'll hail Sevastopol and arrange boarding with him.
Good. Let's get this done.
Don't worry, Miss Taylor. Routine. In and out. Connor, how we doing?
SMG loaded and calibrated. Approach vector locked.
Prep comm so I can say hello.
Channel open, Captain.
Does everyone have their briefing documents?
You can watch the approach on the monitors.
Okay, I've got to go collect my briefing documents. Which is where? Oh, right there. So ready!
Can we see it?
Switch to monitors. Sevastopol Station.
Is that damage?
It looks like damage.
Punch up 74, tight angle.
Looks like the dry dock bay is screwed.
I can't bring the Torrens into that.
This is the commercial vessel Torrens out of St. Clair, registration number MSV7760, calling Sevastopol Traffic Control. We're carrying 3 passengers on a whale in...
Yutani Bond, you're holding the Nostromo flight recorder unit. We request immediate permission to transfer the passengers portside over.
This Waits, Colonial Marshal, Sevastopol Station. Serious situation.
Hello, Marshal? Marshal, this is the Torrens. Say again?
That's not good.
The station's comms seem pretty screwed up, so I fitted Samuel's suit with a radio booster. I can only keep the Torrens in transit for 24 hours.
You'll have heard from us by then.
Safe trip.
Stand by. My contract doesn't cover bloody spacewalks. It's the only option, and it's perfectly safe if you do what I tell you. Depressurizing. Oh, fuck. Hating this. Just shadow me, Taylor. You too, Samuels.
Affirmative.
I am your friendly, non-binary alien demon here on Twitch. I'm also best friends with the Mothman. I use they, them pronouns exclusively. How did your run go?
Fuck happened here? My God, Ripley. You're doing good, Taylor. Just keep moving. Taylor, Ripley, hold on. Samuels! Taylor! Respond! Anybody! Okay.
Well, they're probably not alive. Yeah, That's just great. There's your objective. Find help. Well, shit. Registration points will manually save your progress. They will warn you if enemies are nearby. Oh, great, great, great. You can't rest here. There are enemies nearby. Okay. Please wait. Okay, I'm waiting. It tells me to wait! What am I supposed to do? Nothing back here. That's fine. I'm sure it was just...
Oh.
Nothing. Sure it was nothing. I'm sure everything's fine.
Warning. Sevastopol stability compromised. Proceed to the nearest partial checkpoint and stand by while orbital stabilizers realign.
Right, we have ads in 9 minutes, so I'm gonna pause here, run ads. That way those who come in are not hit with pre-rolls, and I'll see everyone on the other side. And welcome back from ads, Ohana. Let's get back into this. Why? Why did you want to... Wait, there we go. Good guy. Okay, so that's how I run. Alright. How I figured out that... Okay, so that's where I came in. At least I figured out how to run. I'm sure I'm gonna be needing that. That's war! If you weren't awake, you're probably awake now. There ain't no getting across there. There ain't no getting over there either. That's definitely not happening. So what? It's a big old... How am I supposed to get across, get over? It's up there. Unless I have to go maybe this way. Oh, alright. Alright, this all just leads back here. What? Already lost. That's not good. Decommissioning. 2 engineering team re-decommissioned. Sorry, boys and girls. You've probably heard the whispers about Sevastopol by now, and I can confirm it's official. Sevastopol is being decommissioned. I will go over with each of you what this means in regards to your contracts and next placement. But for now, we still have a job to do. The suits want this done with a skeleton crew, which means we'll only be getting a few outside contractors to help. It does mean overtime. I recommend taking what you can while it's available. I should point out that the decommission does not mean lucky dip. Everything here has to be accounted for, and I will personally escort anyone found helping themselves to equipment to Marshal Waits, Chief. And then we got another corrupted folder, so that fucking sucks. Can't go through there. And there's nothing here. Looks like we're going over this thing. Oh, shit! Obviously we're not! We're falling! I don't know how we survived that fall, but we did. Yay!
God damn.
Oh, we're injured! Oh, that's just great.
This'll help.
Hold B to open the radio. Okay. Trying to. Shield your eyes. It's trying. Beep. Someone you always knew was Joe. Anybody else? Needs moving. Or does it keep moving? Well, I can't read it, so whatever. We're going up! More scrap. Radio, a sensor. Yes, children, that's a radio. Don't know how many of you know that.
Hello? Anyone here?
Why would you say that so quietly? Hello? Anyone here? Anyone here? Anyone home? Anyone gonna help me out? Passcode required. Restore power. So I need a passcode for that door. I need to restore power for these doors. This thing has been busted the fuck up. This one's not, but I can't interact with it. Thank you for the drink, Kaiser. Oh, really? Ay, ay, ay. Forgotten F you. Trust no one. Okay. This life for rent. Tomorrow together, no future help. Welcome to the end of the line. Said something about terminals to update my map. Okay. Ooh! Beep beep. Yes. Sign access terminal. Moved our stash. Langley, if you're looking for our stash, I've moved it. You left it right out in the open where anyone could have taken it. Jesus, do you know what I had to do to get it? I've hid it in one of those storerooms. You should be able to find it. The code is 0340. No one goes down to the terminal anymore, not after what happened. Also, we're out of meds and low on water, so you're going to need to get some. It's your turn. Maybe I'll teach you to take care of our stuff in the future. Anna. Goodbye from Sexton. Public notice. Decommissioning Sevastopol Station. We've had a long journey together, but it's sadly coming to an end. Sexton Corp would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you who worked and lived at Sevastopol over the years, and hope that Sexton has helped to make it a productive and rewarding environment. Our investment and belief in the station has never been wavered. Be assured that Sexton, Apollo, Central AI, and Working Joe androids will be there to serve Sevastopol until the last rivet is removed. We wish you all the very best for the future. After all, Sevastopol isn't just a station, it's people. Audio.
Harris, Turner, get back here now. We have a track somewhere in engineering. Lock the terminal down, kill the power, and don't forget your reports. Make them thorough. We're gonna need our paperwork to be bulletproof when this shit's over. Waits up.
Okay. Utility. Power junction. Restore power to departures. Sure.
I'm going!
People just ran by screaming, get out of here. I'm going. That's not ominous. can't exactly make it now because I don't have all the parts, but I have the blueprint. At least I almost have all the parts to make it. All or nothing, I suppose. Where'd those people go? Well, I can't go after them. They're gone. Ooh! Take all that, thank you. Ooh, I can make it now. Woo! I made a thing. I'm doing the things. Ah! Why would you stick yourself in the arm like that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you stick your... Why? That solves nothing. Okay, fuck you too, Livewire. Tomorrow together equals no future. Left to rot.
What the hell happened here?
Why do I feel so fucking short in this? I feel really fucking short. No hospital, no authority, no hope. Dude, I feel like really fucking short. And I'm not allowed. Not fair. Not allowed to go into places. So I'm missing an injector, and then I can make another one. Okay. Ion torch required. Why is this thing required that I don't have? Game's like, nah, you're not allowed to go any further. You wanted to go that way? Turns fucking bad. You're going the way I want you to go. Rates lied to us. Strangers will be shot. Oh, that's lovely. That's just what you want to hear. Always know, working dark, keep out. You're gonna tell me I need a torch for this, right? No, okay, restore power. At least it didn't tell me I needed a torch this time. We need help. Yeah, it seems like you do, mate. Another flare! Beep. Okay, thank you. I will take care of that now. Thank you for the drink. Ugh. Also, let me see here. No, I don't want to quit. I want that off. Just trying to... okay. Subtitles are now on. Much better. Channel search, scanning frequency, no signal. Oh, these are little games, okay. Well, I restored power. Can I get in this thing now? Why does it seem like there's someone in there? Oh, okay, no one's in there. God, you're fucking bright! A fucking bright ass light! God damn! Turn your high beams down! Fuck! Whew. Pulling the plug. Zoe, I'm sorry, but I won't need you to come in next week. As you know, the store's been in trouble for some time now, and I couldn't hold off the creditors any longer. There's just no one coming to Sevastopol anymore. It's not just us either. It sounds like the whole station is in the red and they're pulling the plug. Going to sell it off for scrap, I guess. I was speaking to one of the engineers and he reckons I'll announce it soon. I'm telling you this so you don't stick around around looking for another job. Sevastopol's finished, time to move on. Harper. To all spaceflight employees. To all spaceflight terminal employees, in the interest of public safety and the prevention of panic, it must be made clear to all potential passengers that there are currently no scheduled flights leaving Sevastopol nor ships available. The Colonial Marshals are investigating problems on station and will update accordingly. From the Office of Marshal Waits. What is Apollo? Apollo is a central AI that monitors and provides guidance for all the Segson working Joes on Sevastopol. Apollo also oversees all communications on the station. So wherever you are, you know you're in safe hands. Segson tomorrow together. Okay. Anything in here I can... Okay, I guess not. God, that light is so fucking bright. Now that I've restored power... I need to see where I can go from here. I don't know where to go. I can't very well go in there, that's blocked. That says it needed the ion, whatever, thingamajiggy. And that one also needed it. Huh. Trying to figure this out. I could go back that way, but there's no point. No point in going in there, because you can't. Is there anywhere in here to go into? That's just the save port. What's that? Oh, okay. There we go. There's a vent! Lovely! I ain't going in this vent with it being dark! I mean, yeah. But I know damn right well not to go in a vent and be in the dark. I know better. I ain't stupid.
This whole damn place is falling apart.
Yeah, you said it, lady. Nah, they're not. No, they're not. Promise you they're not. I mean, you can believe that if you want, though. He's got a little face. He's so happy. Am I supposed to... Oh, okay. Bye! His name's Harold! The robot had a name! His name was Harold! Why are we coughing? Why are we coughing? I'm still missing an ejector. Hi! Goodbye! Dude was booking it! That guy was booking it! Keep moving. Alright. Oh, that's lovely. Just what you want to see. A body in the middle of an empty, abandoned spacecraft. More bodies! Oh, this is lovely. This is a lovely scene. Looters will pay. You know what? Fuck you. I'll do what I want. If I want to loot, I'm a loot. Da, 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 da. Woo! Button. Ooh. Ooh. I'm opening all the things. Look at me go. I'm doing it. I'm doing all the things. Maintenance jack required. Okay, well, look, I don't know where to find this maintenance jack, but I'm sure he's helpful. He'll help. Ooh, that's some sexy paper. My Taz is over here squishing my face. Ah! Can I go in here? No. Torch required. Blah. Oh, Kaiser. Can I go in here? Plasma torch. Man. I'm not allowed to go in anywhere. It's like, haha, get wrecked, scrub. You don't have the necessary tools. Well, you know what? Fuck you too, then. Maybe I didn't want to come here. Maybe I was forced. You ever think about that? No, you don't think about yourself. Maybe I didn't want to come. Maybe I wanted to stay on the nice warm spaceship. Really? Really? Plasma torch. That's gonna be me finding this maintenance jack. I don't know what to make of that. Fuck the marshals, okay? Well, I don't think I want her. I'm sure they're lovely people, but I don't think I want her. Bunch of papers. More papers. Someone was playing chess. Big dog. Okay. It's apparently November. Ooh. Oh. Oh. Great. We have that mechanic. That's what I always wanted, the hide mechanic. That mechanic only spells trouble, you know. Anything in here? Oh, play.
Yes, it's Turner. Gotta deal with that wasted asshole again. This time he nearly wrecked the door with a maintenance jack. Guess he figures it's safe here. Wants to lock himself in. Screw him. We got too much to worry about without babysitting drunks. Anyway, I threw him in the evidence lockup. Let the son of a bitch sleep it off.
Rude, but okay. Waits lied to us. Okay. This looks very ransacked. That also doesn't... Someone spilled some black paint. Who spilled black paint everywhere? Ooh, can I take that? I want the shiny. Can I have the shiny? I like the shiny. Confiscated property. Oh. Am I gonna find what I need in here? Well.
Oh. Fuck.
Yeah? My thoughts exactly, lady. Oh, fuck. My thoughts exactly. home. We're in the fence again. This is where I live, apparently. Whee!
Rolo, I want to make a complaint to the highest authority, okay? My name.
You ain't gonna be needing this anymore.
Watson. Do you
I
get
think
that?
I need this more than you do.
My complaint is this. Fucking marshals. They should be protecting us. It's their job. Something's on the station with us and no one knows what it is. No one fucking knows. They put braces on the doors. Lockdown. You know, like to keep something out. I'm fucking terrified, man. I'm fucking... Shit. It's so cold. I don't think this fucking thing even works.
Well, there's something trapped in here. What do you think it is? A chicken? I think it's a chicken. That was not turned over before. That was upright. I don't like that's all flipped over now. Okay, we've got scrap. Oh, another recording!
Interview subject. Heist. Did I say that right? Heist? Look, if you can't even tell me your name, we're gonna be here a hell of a long time. I just want to know about your boss. He's got you all into a lot of trouble. Someone's gonna be accountable. I'm gonna make damn sure someone's accountable. No? Tough guy, huh? Turner, turn off the tape. Maybe our friend here is just shy.
Well, I still can't make a bed yet. Bleh. Oh well. Oh, we now at least have the maintenance jack. Better than having nothing. Oh, yay, cutscene! Oh.
Stay still.
Okay. Okay.
Now, turn around. Come on!
I'm Ripley.
Where'd you come from? Ripley?
Off station. A ship.
There's no ships here!
There are now.
Well, that's good news, because things are not so good here. Something blew just now, rocked this whole place.
I saw it.
But lady, that's the least of our problems.
Yeah?
Yeah. Something's on this station. Something you wouldn't believe.
Like what?
A killer. You get it?
Okay.
I mean, you've got a gun.
Okay. What's your name?
Axel.
I was boarding with 2 colleagues. EVA. We got separated by the blast. Can you help me find them?
Why?
Because you seem to know your way around.
No, I mean, why? What's in it for me?
A place on the ship.
How do I know I can trust you?
I need to find comms. I need to contact my ship.
This is your lucky day.
Thank you
go, sweetheart. Seeks and Comms is in the Systech Spire. It's quite a distance, but we can get to a transit through the freight area. But watch yourself. We can get into all sorts of trouble there, okay?
Sure, Baldy, whatever you say. You're holding the gun, not me. This
Come
bald
on, I
man
don't want to
has
stick
a
around here
gun.
long.
I don't trust it.
Was that you following me back there?
Had to keep my distance. Can't take any chances.
Baldy
Stick
has
close to me.
What?
Baldy, where'd you go?
Don't move.
Okay. We're not looking for trouble. Who are you?
I'm John. This is Ringo.
They're just some assholes. We haven't got time for this. Come on, Jana.
We're trying to get to comms. Can you help us?
We don't need their help.
Don't tell them anything. Look, I've got the elevator working. Jana, let's go, okay?
I'm sorry. Good luck.
Baldy, what is your problem?
What the hell was that about? Why are you so damn aggressive?
Everyone's running shit scared. Keeping to their
I'm
own.
sorry, you're
Safer that
cold.
way.
I want to know what his problem
This
is.
ship of yours is the real McCoy.
Any opportunity I can get to save, I take it.
Hold up. Let me get the elevator.
Okay, Baldy.
Allow me. Place is old. Needs a special touch. Well, what are you waiting for? Hit the button.
There, I hit the button. Calm your tits. I'm just gonna call you Baldy.
I'd appreciate it if you told me what the hell was going on. Right now.
Listen, darling. When we get to the ship, we can kick back, braid each other's hair, and chat.
What hair?
Yeah.
You
when
got
we get to
none!
the ship, I need to know what's going on. Right fucking now.
Fine. Like I said, there's a killer.
A killer? What does that even mean?
I ain't seen it, but it's here. Picking us off one by one.
What are you saying? A psycho? A person?
No, something else. A monster.
Yeah. All day. What's up, Baldy? Come on.
Shit. We need to move. This way. Get down.
This is bullshit, man. We should be looking for a way off.
Are you crazy? There's no way off. At least we're safe down here.
For how long? What if they come for us? Then we shoot the crap out of them. Now shut up. You're making me nervous.
Station feels like a graveyard, huh?
Trouble. We'll have to go round them.
Ugh.
Follow me.
Now we have to follow Bald Man into the vents. Yay!
Glad I found you guys.
What if I don't want to?
Friends of yours?
I've had run-ins with those guys before. They don't like strangers. Even nice guys like me.
Are you
I'm
nice?
shocked. I ain't pulling your chain, darling. You want to go and say hello? It's your funeral. Those guns aren't for show.
Someone should be doing something.
They are. It's called surviving.
I mean, yeah.
Everyone's turning on each other. The fear, it makes people crazy.
I've noticed. You've been living here?
What can I say? My butler's on holiday.
Your butler's on holiday!
Another chance.
Right. I didn't know you had a butler.
Been hunkered down here for a week now, waiting for a ship. Waiting for you, I guess.
guy's got a butler, apparently. Okay.
It can get pretty dark around here. You should take that flashlight over there. Make sure you're stocked up on battery.
Flashy light. Hi, Beans. How are you, wifey?
Just be careful not to flash it around. We don't want to get caught. Let's go.
I need the where are the batteries? I need those. It's going.
This way.
Just started this. This was a reward for buying not a subathon-a-thon. I told everyone that if
Unwatched event. There's another event right
they
here somewhere.
managed to get this one
I marked
goal,
it so I wouldn't forget it.
that this would be the next horror game I played after I finished
How about
Silent
you
Hill
look around?
2.
We're not going anywhere until you find
I
it.
finished Silent Hill 2. So here we are. I've just been making jokes. It's much better than the alternative of me possibly screaming every 2 seconds. Baldy, what are you doing? This is Baldy. He held a gun to my head in the game already, so you know. We're very friendly with each other now. I don't know what he's doing.
I hate this place.
Feelings mutual, I don't really like it much either.
Axel, is this it?
Hold on. I'm coming.
Come on, Baldy! Move your butt!
I knew it was here somewhere. See? Got it covered. Come on.
Okay, back into the vents we go. That's not dangerous at all, right? Perfectly sane thing to do.
It's not smart to stay here too long.
You don't say.
Is the way everyone travels around here?
Just those that want to stay alive, sweetheart.
Sir, I really could do without seeing your pancake ass.
Torrance, so that's your ship, huh? Quiet. I hear something.
Yep, I hear you. Will do. Gotta go meet the others. Something's going down.
There's always something going down.
Come on. We don't want to piss him off. How you holding up? You okay?
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. Whatever's going down, we're yelling timber. Timber! Sir, I have to save. I see a safe spot, I save.
Okay, gotta be quiet here. Don't shine that flashlight.
It's literally just like a reflex. I see something that I have to do, I do it.
Quietly. Hold up.
Okay.
What's the emergency? Someone else has been here. Everyone, stay alert. Keep your guns tight. Shoot anyone you don't know. Stick around while I check our stock.
They're armed. Too many of them to take on.
Take on?
We still got to get through there. The door at the end.
How?
Hi, cat!
Let's try a distraction. The generator. If that went down, they'd have to check it out. You're smaller than me. You'll make less noise.
Great.
Which Which one of you checked our supplies last?
Where
I
am
did.
I going? This
What's
way?
up?
You decide to help yourself a little?
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Hey, he's been with me the whole time.
We're missing food, ammo, meds. If it's not one of us, then we were right. Someone's been in here.
This is no good. We're supposed to be secure down here.
Damn it. What about the lock Joe rigged up?
I've just come from there. Sealed tight. Eyes open. Keep your guns ready.
Someone's gonna have
Oh,
to
you
tell
know,
the boss.
I had
Boss?
baldy
goddamn
big
store
Balderson
clerk.
man held a gun to my head.
You could do
I'm
better.
sneaking past
not
people
saying
who
that.
have guns that want
Just
me dead
saying
for no
that-
reason.
Just stop saying.
Wonderful.
And help
It's
me
going
check the rest of this stuff.
wonderful.
That is, if you could keep your trap from running for 5 seconds.
The fuck just happened?
Generators died.
It just turned itself off? No, somebody's here.
Check it out. Everyone with me.
I can't believe you left me alone back there.
Who's there? Come out, and we won't hurt.
Doesn't seem to be broken.
How would you know, Einstein?
If the generator...
Shit.
Anyone else catch that?
Just get out of here.
We won't tell you again.
Fuck. I should have gone. I should have gone. I should have fucking gone. That wasn't smart. I should have gone. What are you doing? He just sat there like. Seriously, he's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here, whatever.
Nice work, Ripley. This way. Let's keep it down. They're still close by. Follow me.
How did you get here? The hell? How the fuck did you get here? Did he just teleport? I swear motherfucker just teleported.
How much further?
Nearly there. Transit's just up ahead. Let's just hope your ship's still there. Sevastopol not quite what you're expecting yet.
No, not really.
I'm not even supposed to be here. My shipping out papers were for a week ago.
A blind eye. Yes, I managed to get my hands on the stuff I was talking about. Chief won't even notice the stuff missing. Things always get lost when a station's closing down. Don't worry about customs either. Sinclair told his men to turn a blind eye. They'd probably be too busy goofing off or taking backhanders to notice anyway. You get what you pay for, I guess. Bailey. Nelson, Leonard, you're both first shift on the doors, so read carefully. Putting this together wasn't easy. We don't want intruders getting in because you didn't read instructions properly. Here's what you call a two-man rule lock. This means it needs two to open the door simultaneously from two different consoles. Most of us don't even know each other, so this is the safest way of making sure everything stays secure and none of us decide to head off on our own with our stuff. When you're on shift, take it in turns to keep guard and notify the others if one of us needs to be let in or out. This means just us, no one else, no matter how much anyone begs and no matter what sub-story they try and pull. I was with the group before and we got soft and I'm the only one left. Trust no one. Joe. Inventory. No one is to take anything or mark it off the list without talking to me first. And then there's a list of inventory stuff. No, running low on ammunition. Zoe managed to pick up some prescription drugs, all addressed to the same person. Guess they didn't need them anymore. you got a mug, sir. You're just mean mugging everyone. Gotta restore power.
It's powered down. The assholes have cut us off. Got it. We need to activate both consoles at the same time to open it. I'll do this one. You go to the one on the other side.
Okay.
Oh, the sides.
Ready. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Axel, behind you.
Oh no! Axel!
Fuck you! Get here now! I've got the thieving son of a bitch. You bums think you can take what you want? Get the fuck off me! This is my place, my property.
Shit!
Fuck.
I mean,
Let's go.
that was
The
a
others are on their
very crazy
We need to go!
response.
Now!
Hey, you bastard!
Move it!
Shoot him! Shit, I think he's dead. They killed him.
I'm holding left trigger.
Come on!
You killed that guy!
Because he was going to kill me, you saved my life. This is about survival. Do you understand? You hear something?
It's raining black paint.
I hear something.
Axel?
What have I got on me?
Oh. Axel's gone.
What the hell was that thing?
I could tell you what it is if you'd like to know.
Gotta keep moving.
Very familiar with that tale. Alright, people, I hardly knew ya. Great. Door's fucking locked. How am I supposed to get out when the door's fucking locked? I hear banging, but there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, there's nothing here. I guess I go back the way I came? Yeah. We have ads in 9 minutes, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna run the ads so that way those who come in are not hit with pre-rolls, and I'll see everyone on the other side. And welcome back from Ads Ohana. Let's get back into this. We definitely can't go through here because that's locked. Alright, transit. Come on, transit! Come on, transit! How much longer I gotta wait, transit? Now I gotta find an elevator to the communications. Okay.
Station serving Seegson Communication Technologies, Tech Support Services, and Gemini Exoplanet Solutions.
Alrighty.
Sevastopol Transit System is reporting a good service.
Oh, I'm gonna guess this is a hide spot. Yep. That's to call transit. Ooh, safe spot. Like that. Guessing this is another hide. Yep. Okay. More hide? Yeah. More hide. All the hidey spots. Really? I was just coming. Thank you. No weapons allowed. Door locked. No weapons beyond this point. Well, I'm not carrying any. Climb in there. Not sure I really want to do that right now. I mean, I guess. Ooh, what's that? Sensor? Is that really it? Oh, okay, so just, oh, okay. That's all that does. Okie dokie.
Stay back!
Yeah, I am.
Shit!
Bye!
Guys! Over here! Someone's here!
No one's here!
Marie, listen to me very carefully. I want you to leave work now. Collect Claire, pick up the cat, and head home. We need to find someplace safe till Seegson send a ship. I saw the guy from down the hall. I can't remember his name. The one in the dirty baseball cap, weird smell. He had something in his coat. I think it was a gun. He just looked right through me. Don't talk to anyone. Don't tell them where you're going. I'll meet you as soon as I can.
All right.
An access to her. She was trying to hack the elevator's security. Circuits are fried. Easy fix. Just need to find a new data set.
Find a data cell. Okay. You're not gonna find me, Army. Doing what I do best. Hide it!
Still think we need more supplies. Guns, food, wherever we can find it.
Okay, so they're over there.
We've got to sleep soon. I can't hack much more of this.
Rewire toggle systems.
Is that
Okay.
shit? Someone!
Fuck! Oh, come on!
Go! You're gonna pay for that!
Can't even do it. I can't even read. Game was like, you're not allowed to read. The game literally said I wasn't allowed to read. Do you know how dumb that is? That the game literally decided I'm not allowed to read. I was just trying to read. I expected this. I didn't expect it to go smoothly. I knew that, like, I was gonna die in this game. It doesn't matter. I'm not looking for a no-death run, you know?
Stay back!
Shit!
Guys, over here! Someone's here!
I tried to creep around, and bitch just came out of nowhere.
Listen to me very carefully. I want you to leave work now. Collect Claire, pick up the cat, and head home. We need to find someplace safe till Seekson's in the ship. I saw the guy from down the hall. I can't remember his name. The one in the dirty baseball cap, weird smell. He had something in his coat. I think it was a gun.
An
He just looked
access
right
to
through me.
She was trying
Don't
to
talk
hack
to
the
anyone. Don't
elevator's
tell them where you're
security.
going. I'll meet you as
Circuits
soon
are
as I can.
fried. Easy fix. Just need to find a new data set.
Okay. You find her, kill her.
So, alright, I can't go that way, I have to go this way.
She was downstairs. See anything yet?
There's nothing in here.
This whole station's gone to shit. We've only done what we had to. This is some bullshit. We'll make it through this, I promise.
I guess I have to send it. Oh no. Go the other way. Go the other way. Don't come this way. Fuck me!
Hey,
Fucking hell! Ah, fuck! Why? Why are they coming? Why? Why do they come that way? Is there anywhere else? Ah, okay.
Your safety is important to us. Please report all transit malfunctions immediately.
Okay. Trying to figure this out. Go this way. Is she just gonna trigger regardless of what I do? Yeah, she triggers regardless of what I do.
Shit! Guys, over here! Someone's here!
Now that's shit. She triggers regardless of what you do.
Marie, listen to me very carefully. I want you to leave work now. Collect Claire, pick up the cat, and head home. We need to find someplace safe till Seegson send a ship. I saw the guy from down the hall. I can't remember his name. The one in the dirty baseball cap, weird smell. He had something in his coat. I think it was a gun. He just looked right through me. Don't talk to anyone.
Access to-
Don't tell them where you're going.
She was trying to
meet you as
hack
soon as I
the
can.
elevator's security. Circuits are fried. Easy fix. Just need to find a new data set.
So she triggers regardless of what you do. Nice to know.
Maybe she was just scavenging like us.
They come this way first.
Feel safe? I sure as as hell don't.
Don't know. Shit, they're over there.
What was that?
Nothing! Woo! I think I got the thing to make something to heal. I did. Nice. Back up here.
Did anyone else catch that?
Flares! Just see one over there!
Flare work to distract them. Shit!
God, I can't keep doing this.
Go away!
We're not alone. There's a light over here.
Oh, there isn't. This is my vent. Go away. Go find your own vent. Okay? You gonna just keep screaming? We might have reached an impasse.
The walls.
To my vent.
Wait. I thought I heard.
God damn it! Hi, Piggy!
Over there!
They want me to just stay in my vent, apparently.
I think they were over there.
I'm not allowed out of my vent.
Anyone see them?
No? Saw nothing.
Keep looking. They can't go far.
I'm
Why
not
would
seeing
you
them.
stab yourself like that?
Can we stop?
Why? Are you done? Can I come out of my vent now? Thank you for that, thanks, Piggy.
We shouldn't have done that back there. I know we're hungry, but man, this feels so wrong.
to. Oh yes, let's have some sexy sax for the alien. The alien's got some sexy sax now.
We're not alone.
No, bye. I'm going through here. Fuck you guys.
I think she went downstairs. Come on.
No, I didn't.
I'm not going down there. No way.
She's got your hack tool.
It didn't work. We'll find another way up. We've been here too long already.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've seen the tongue, I've seen the tail too. I've seen it all. Familiar with all of it. Woo! There's nothing here. Yeah. I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean, we already got introduced to our little vent friend. It killed Baldy McBalderson. I was very sad about it. Drinky bird! Yes, we're saving. We got a gun. Yeah. That's a thing. That's got low power. We can now defend ourselves! This needs a passcode. Oh, key card. Hello, up there! I hear you! Think I don't hear you? Come on now. He thinks it's slick. It was thudding. That's not slick. Oh. Take that. Could you imagine if, like, you went in the vent and it was in the vent with you and you were just chasing each other around? Why do I think these things? Device invalid. Oh, yay! You ever get the feeling you're not alone? I get that feeling quite a lot. Ooh! fucking stash in here? Oh, I know what's coming, probably. There's a big old thing with a tiny little mouth and a sharp pointy tail that hisses and likes to crawl around in vents. And, has blood that just so happens to be acidic. It's got a second mouth that's tiny. You know that, right? You do realize it's got two mouths. It's got the main one and then a second one that juts out. It's called its tiny mouth. I don't know if I would say it's necessarily big. So there's no, I can't get to any of these doors because I need that cell, that data cell. Blech. Guess I have to go back the way I came then. Oh, okay. How do they expect me to go any further? Where's the data cell? Yo, Bozo in the vents, you got a data cell on you? Can I have it? Oh, okay, there's the fucking key card. So stupid. Yo, Harmy. Oh, another ID. I'm not smart! I never claimed to be smart. I'm not very observant in games, okay? I'm just not. I appreciate it. Because there are people out there who would love to ruin this kind of stuff. Oh, blueprint. I made a bomb. Why would they let me do that? Oh, he's definitely not alive anymore. Yeah. He not looking so good.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he don't look so good. Ooh, flashbang! Yeah, you don't look so good, sir. Yeah. Thanks. thinks I don't hear it.
Oh god. The flight recorder. What? What? No! God!
Yeah, I couldn't have, I didn't see that coming.
Okay. Stay focused.
Unauthorized access detected. Security lockdown initiated. Please wait for security check.
Ay, ay, ay. Buttons!
Unlocking access to
Unworking access tuner and something that's probably very pissed off at this noise.
Let's try this thing out.
How pissed off at this noise do you think it is? Oh, yeah. I know I would be. I'd be like, fuck off with that beeping.
Message from Marshal Waits. This is Chief Porter in tech support. Look, there's nothing on this flight recorder, Waits. We've broken God knows how many corporate confidentiality agreements and come up with zip. Nothing except the Weyland-Yutani logo and an empty readout. Now these things are built to last. So either someone on board the Nostromo asked its motherboard to wipe it clean, or somehow the data's been corrupted before it got here. Care to fill me in on why this was a priority job?
Oh, yay. Oh, let's make one of these. There we go. All I'm gonna do is tell it wasn't my fault. I'm just gonna tell the thing it wasn't my fault. You think it'll believe me? If I say to it it wasn't my fault? Be like, hey buddy, it wasn't my fault, I promise. You can blame the idiots that decided that they wanted to cause problems for you. I didn't want to do it, buddy. Okay, that, this, and this. I like the code system for the game, though. That's kind of cool, the security code systems. Archives. To W. Chief Porter, Lee Sevastopol Terminals. Chief, good news. The good news is that I'm about 80% through archiving Sevastopol's internal mail system for the decommissioning. It's been disconnected from Apollo, but I've left the basic messaging system in place for the people still here. The bad news is whoever set it up in the first place skimped on the hardware, and we've had some leaks. I've got Mike Tanaka looking into it now. He's the specialist archivist we called in. He seems to know his shit. Just thought I'd better give you the heads up in the meantime. Franco. An outpost of progress number 1. Sevastopol, an outpost of progress by Julia Jones. Desolation through isolation. A space station that nobody needed, run by a company we all forgot. Sevastopol is now a backwater. Population is a tenth of the station's optimal capacity. Docking bays are empty, and the shutters are down on the local stores and business. The orders for Segson's cheaply manufactured androids have long since dried up, and the antiquated Apollo governing AI system frequently malfunctions. How did we get here? And more importantly, where have billions of dollars of investment gone? My name is Julia Jones. I lived on the Sevastopol for 2 months compiling this report for the Colonial Times, discovering the price our second-tier corporations have paid for their overexpansion during the race to the outer rim. Wasn't much there, was it? Another injector. Oh, I don't have any compound though. Nothing there. No. Is there anything over here? No. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about all the noise. If it was my doing, I wouldn't have all this noise going. Okay, so that leads to that. I'd be getting annoyed by all this noise. Way too much noise. Way too much. I know that says low power. There's got to be a way to power it, though. Because I can't... There we go. Hi! Hi, baby! Yeah, I wouldn't make any noise if I were you. Oh, look at you! You're just a big old baby, aren't you? Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Hey, where'd you go? Huh? Did you go back up in the van? What? supposed to? Here's the thing, you know, I kind of like them. I'm not fussed. Honestly. See, that's the funny thing. You would think I'd be terrified right now. But I know where they like to hide, and that's in there. Well, little secret. I've watched most of the movies, and I read one of the books. And I actually collect merchandise for this franchise. Not to mention, you know, I can pause here for a second. Okay. Pause here for just a second. And give everyone a fun link. If you've got a blue sky, you might want to check that link out. And, oh, I posted that. That's the most recent. You might want to just compare the tale to the one we just saw. It's about all I can say on that subject. As to why I'm not scared. Okay, we're looking for you, and you. I guess because I'm so familiar with this creature. Go ahead, go off, Queen. Like I'm so familiar with this creature. Look at you go! Look at you go, you little murderous thing, you! See, I'm so familiar with this thing. I'm not bothered by it. Plus, I find them adorable. That's another thing, I find them cute. That's the other thing. I know I did. I have a very sick, twisted brain. I think they're adorable. I know you're up there. I know. I love you, Tara. I know. Are you in that one still, or did you move? That's the funny thing, like, a lot of people would expect me to be screaming my head off right about now. I mean, I'm sure I will at some point. I'm so sure I will at some point.
All visitors must report to reception.
Oh, is that one of the androids? Oh, no. That's one of the androids. That's the problem. Those things are the fucking problem. It's not the baby. It's not the hissy baby that lives in the vents. It's that fucker right there. You're the problem.
Hello? My name's Ripley. Amanda Ripley. I need your help.
Please take a seat. Someone will be with you shortly.
No wonder Seegson is losing the tech race.
Yeah, that thing's the fucking issue. Baby in the vent, not a problem.
You can trust our working Joes. Always
That
there,
guy,
always
problem.
helpful, always working for you. Our synthetics are made to be simple. No emotional simulations. No light real qualities. They just work for you, so you can get on with your life in perfect peace of mind. Working Joes. Brilliantly simple. And simply brilliant.
They were also the problem in the movies, too. Keycard required. Torch. Where the fuck you going, homie? Keycards.
For your comfort and reassurance, our working Joe synthetics are designed to be instantly
Blah,
recognized.
blah, 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 working Joe, blah, 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 blah.
With advanced human real androids.
Really?
Are unmistakable, so you always know exactly who you're dealing with. Be reassured. That's the Seegson promise. Your user comfort is our priority.
What's up, dude? Hi.
Can I help you?
I need to get into comms control. It's urgent.
That is a restricted area.
It's an emergency. Don't you realize what's going on?
Apollo has the situation in hand. Your registration is almost complete.
Forget it. I'll find my own way in.
You are a pain in the...
I wouldn't advise it.
You're a pain in the fucking ass! I'm about ready to bash your head in! Your registration's almost done. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna let something bash your head in. Problematic droids.
Some kind of tracker.
Yup.
It's been modified.
Yup. Now you can track the baby in the vents.
Are you lost?
Yes.
No, no problem.
Can you just fuck off, dude? Keys, I put a manual lock on the door leading upstairs. Don't want any accidents till we figure out what's going on here. Chief. Error. Operation not permitted. Our manifesto. First published in the Ion Seegson, February 2001, 2115. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna do it that way. We don't want to show you a new world. We want to discover it with you. Here at Seegson, every new technology, research project, and discovery is driven to find the real-world applications to help you. We hope you'll join us for the journey. I don't want to read all this. I don't want to read all this.
Marie, if you get this, I'm making my way to Seegson Communications now. I didn't wake you because I knew you'd try and stop me. Please understand, this is our best shot. Someone's got to reestablish communications. We need to make sure the officials back at home know what's going on here. Don't worry about me. I'll be back. I'm not going to leave you and Claire alone.
Ooh, safe spot. Like, what does that mean? Hi, Mags. How are you? Eepee. Ooh, one big AJ. Oh, God. Oh, how'd it go? Oh, this just reminds me of a scene from one of the Aliens movies that I watched. Well, that's not good. Why didn't you sleep? Fair. Fair. I'm crafting. I want. Hey, can I get a hot dog out of there? What a hot dog, look. You got a hot dog, french fries, a mega burger, pizza, horse burger? I don't think I want to know what a horse burger is. You can also get chick nuggets. Not chicken nuggets, chick nuggets. And fried chicken. Enjoy your lurk. Try and get some sleep. You're still lurking in the dark, 'cause you are dumb. Ooh. Can I get another gift? Ooh! Happy birthday! Ooh, I'll take those, thank you. You really want me going in there, huh? Okay. If I must.
Let me pass. It's me, Hughes. Don't you recognize me? Listen to me. We've got to re-establish long-range communications.
You're becoming hysterical.
Get back! I'm warning you!
Tut, tut. Let's resolve this amicably.
That's not amicable! That's far from amicable!
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's very far from amicable. Yeah. That poor guy. I'm sorry, Harmy. That, see, this is what I said, the androids are the problem. problem. It's those and it's the fucking androids. Right, we have ads in 9 minutes, so I'm going to pause here. I'm going to run ads. That way those who come in are not hit with pre-rolls, and I'll see everyone on the other side. Welcome back from ads, Ohana. Let's get back into this. Thank you. Ah! Crazy android! You know what else isn't authorized in this facility? You! Are you? I'm gonna catch you. You're testing my patience. You know what? I don't give a shit. You and I are gonna have to talk about safety. Oh no! What if I don't wanna? You don't wanna help? wanna be a fucking asshole, what you wanna be. Sorry, you're making this very difficult, I'll have you know. Stay over there. That's a good droid. That's a good robot. I don't trust the robot. Oh shit, I can't. Oh, that fucking sucks. Stay over there. Don't see me. I don't see you if you don't see me. Okay. I don't see them, they don't see me. That's how this works, right? Please tell me that's how this works. Fuck! Oh, wait. No!
Let me help you. This isn't the answer. This is a safety breach. It would have you to
Get off of me! Run away!
test my patience. Why not ask me an answer after all safety protocol?
Listen, I will fight!
Why not ask me about Sevastopol's safety protocol?
I will fight if I have to! No! Yeah, you know what? I have a problem with you, you fucking ugly!
I'm going to catch you.
No, you're not!
I just want to help.
Come on.
Yeah, really? Oh, come on! Everything was kind of broken there for a second. You saw that, right?
This is a safety breach. It will not be
How did he get on the elevator? What the hell? How the hell did he get on the fucking elevator? What the fuck was that? That had to be a fucking glitch. That had to be a fucking glitch. Come on. There's no fucking way. There is absolutely no fucking way. definitely clippable. I was gonna say, yeah, go put that in the stream clip section in the Discord because how the fuck? How? There's just no fucking way that was possible. How? Okay. Come on. Of all the things, literally just stop. I'm on the elevator with you now. Oh my god. Oh. That was a good laugh, though. I appreciate it. That was a definitely good laugh. Because... how? That just... it makes no sense. Oh. And this was a... I believe a AAA title? I believe this was a AAA title. And that happened. Oh, that's too good. We definitely went from, oh, this was scary tension to, yeah, that happened.
Let me pass. It's me, Hughes. Don't you recognize me? Listen to me. We've got to re-establish long-range communications.
You're becoming hysterical.
Get back! I'm warning you!
Tut, tut. Let's resolve this amicably.
Now you're gonna watch this guy die again. I do so appreciate goofy ass glitches in games. I really do. Because if it wasn't for them, games would not be as fun. the ID tag. He's still over there.
Come on.
I just got an achievement called She's in the Vents. That's a great achievement. No, 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 no.
There are more pressing matters.
This time, nobody else is riding the elevator but me. Fuck you. This is my elevator.
Central Communications Hub. Seeks and employees only.
I'm not sharing it. Well, that's great. On a ship with murderous androids and a cute little alien. This one, you, and this funky thing. This is the commercial version. Okay, we just got that.
This is the commercial vessel Torrens out of St. Clair, registration number MSV7760, calling Sevastopol Traffic Control. We're carrying 3 passengers on a Wayland Yutani Bond. You're holding the Nostromo flight recorder unit. We request immediate permission to transfer the passengers portside over.
We heard the damage.
This is Waits, Colonial Marshal at Sevastopol Station. We have a serious situation here. Non-local comms are down, and we need you to send out an emergency message. Do you read me? Repeat, our ranged communications are down, and we need help. Stand off and send help.
Okay. Well, that's not good.
External communications disabled by order of Apollo. Facility offline. All outgoing communications halted.
That's just great.
Internal communications open on limited channels.
Oh!
There's someone on the station I can contact.
Fuck you! Fucking assholes walking around again. I thought I dealt with those guys on the last floor. I didn't think I was gonna deal with them again. Oi, oi, oi. my biggest thing in life. I want to hide in a weird little hole thing. Hi! You didn't see me. I'm not in here. That's just great. Bullet casings.
With Saxon, there's someone behind you, helping you every single step of the way.
Oh, yeah? You think there's someone behind me? Yeah. Hi!
We don't forget the little details.
Can you leave? Can you leave? Can you go that way? Wait a second, what? I said, can you leave? Can you go that way? And what the fuck? Okay, did he hear me? What the fuck? No, you're supposed to stay over there. Star. I'm so glad you're stupid. You're stupidly up there and you don't know that I'm down here. They're so confused right now! Did I confuse the AI? I think I confused the AI. Oh, I didn't. Damn! I thought I confused them! Oh, man! That would have been so good.
We're experiencing a heightened containment hazard level today.
Hi! Can you just go about your day? Yeah, that's right. We'll check that out. I don't know. Man, I was really hoping they were confused. Would have been great.
I will find you now.
Yeah? Okay.
You're not allowed in there.
So that's who? Who says I'm not allowed in here, huh?
I'm not crawling in there after you.
Oh, you're not? Cool. Glad to hear it.
Where are you?
Oh, flashbangs break them. Okay, nice to know.
Come out of the vent system, please.
No!
You really shouldn't be here.
They want me to come out of the vent system and I said no. This is my vent system, fuck you!
With
live in the vents and there's nothing you can do about it.
It seems you and I have a problem.
Yeah, we do. Ah! Why are there two of you? Why? Why are there two of you? What? There's three of you? Two of you was bad enough. Three of you is just goddamn awful. I was fine with one. I'm not fine with two. God damn. Could you just go away? Yes, get cracked in the fucking head. Goddamn egghead. No! No! Shit! Cornered! Egghead! Oh God! I didn't want to come out! No! Yay! I didn't want to come out of hiding! Oh, bullshit! I'm trying to hide and it won't let me now. It's like, nah. You suffer. Oh. Alright, where's the three stooges? There's one. There's two. Ah. Thank you for the drink, Kaiser. Shit! I was trying to get a drink, you asshole! You're an asshole! Fuck you! I can't even move! Okay, now I can move. God, these droids just really these androids really fucking hate me. I'm learning this. Can I get my drink now? Am I allowed to do that? Cat's getting all the good clips today.
You're alive! It's Ripley!
Ripley! Taylor, it's Ripley. We were getting worried.
I made it! Where are you?
We're at a transit station now. It's right by medical.
Okay. Samuels, listen to me. It's not safe here. Seegson's got this place locked tight. Their goddamn androids are killing people!
That's impossible. It's contrary to primary synthetic programming.
I've seen it, Samuels. I guess Seegson's got a different idea about synthetics. And there's something else here. A creature. It's big and it's lethal.
Ripley, slow down. A creature?
It's a life form. An unknown type. Some kind of alien organism. It's extremely dangerous. You and Taylor need to make...
Taylor is hurt. She was injured by debris during the crossing.
How bad?
I can't move her. I need medical supplies. We need to treat and pack the injury.
And the Torrens?
The radio is broken. I can't contact Verlaine. We're on our own.
Shit. Okay. I'll come to you. Keep your eyes open.
I'll send a transit car to you.
Woo!
Unauthorized communication. Please wait to be attended by a member of Seegson personnel.
No.
Be with you momentarily.
Shit.
I ain't waiting for nobody no fucking help. You're making me waste company time. Blah, blah, da, 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 da. I don't fucking care. Your company's shit anyway. Yeah, you heard me. Your company's shit. Company shit, it's all of you. Kaiser. I didn't need it after that, though. Does it? No! No! No, you don't! You want to kill me!
This is Central Communications. Seegson employees of
Your safety protocols are bullshit. See, you're getting all the clips today, huh, Cat? I thought it was dead. I really did. Need to go. I'm in comms control. I need to go that way. Okay. Hi, dragon! go. I actually got an achievement for taking no damage from an android and escaping it. I'll fucking take that. That's a hell of an achievement. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. We're making it slowly. I'm gonna just stay here for a second because I heard some noises. And I didn't like them. Why do you have to be right there? You really had to be right fucking there. No! No!
And nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong.
Ah! Fuck off! No, 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 no!
Found you.
No! Come on!
Calm down.
Oh my god, all three of them are here! No! Fucking Larry, Moe, and Curly! That's what I'm dubbing them now. They're Larry, Moe, and Curly. Okay, so I've got to go all the way around. Alright. Oi, oi, oi. No! They're the worst! I'm not interested in them! I just want to... Okay. to go back downstairs, right? Okay. Can you move? Why are you just standing there? Thank you. Oh, I missed this before. I have to go out of here. Yeah, I know he's gonna see me. I know. Oh, fuck off with that. Okay, if I go this way... And... should... Right, now... Okay. This way. Okay, I can't go that way. It's cut off. Go this way, though.
This could require my attention.
It does not! No! You should just go the fuck away! Ah! No! Why? Why? I don't like that noise. I'm sure it's fine. I don't trust it. Good thing I said I didn't trust it. Oh! Oh! Hi, darling! Where'd you come from? Of course it's not! again. Oh, Lana. I think I'm actually just gonna end it here. Yeah, because it's late for me, and I'm actually hungry. I haven't had dinner yet. But I'm having a lot of fun. We're gonna go find someone to raid. I am having a lot of fun with the game. I will be back to next week, not tomorrow, next week. Pay attention to my Discord if you're in there, or pay attention to my Blue Sky, because I'll post my schedule for next week on both. Let's see who we can send this over to. Alright, I'll see who we're gonna raid. Also, if you are subbed, we have a raid message for that as well. But anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But do remember that you are loved, you are valid, and you matter. And do something to make someone smile today, because the world's hard enough as it is. Especially now. Tell someone you love them. I love you, my Ohana. We are gonna go raid Mama Soons. She is playing Lethal Company with some friends in a collab. But again, I will see you all next week. You have a great weekend, and remember that you are loved. And have a great, like I said, have a great weekend. But I will see you all next week.